Hello, everyone. Hi. So we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Stephen Fernandez. As we have folks trickle in, myself and Rachel and Cece will be able to admit them into but I want to make sure we have plenty of time for questions as we present a little bit about what McNair Scholars is and some of the opportunities that we provide. So the McNair Scholars Program is a federally funded program from the Department of Education, which helps students from a variety of different backgrounds and different disciplines. Again, my name is Steve Fernandez. I'm the program director. I'm going to introduce Rachel Bay, who is our program coordinator, and Carla Christina Edwards, who's one of our current McNair scholars, talk a little bit about her experience. So Rachel, if you want to give a basic background about the program and some of the eligibility and resources that are provided.
Thanks, Stephen. I am going to share my screen with you all. We're going to have just a brief PowerPoint presentation where I'll go over the program, some of the components Stephen mentioned, and then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. So as Stephen mentioned, the McNair Scholars Program is a federal TRIO program. It's currently funded at 187 institutions all over the country. And so this is really important and will come up a few times throughout this presentation just to show you how widespread the McNair name is and how much weight it truly holds in the academic world. So McNair scholars are either first generation college students with financial need or members of a group that is traditionally underrepresented in graduate education. Some benefits of being a part of the program obviously include research, very similar to why you all are here today. The summer research internship, which includes a stipend, so there's that financial assistance. Assistance is a huge part of the program, as well as opportunities for students to present their research at various academic conferences, attend different professional development workshops, get that graduate school preparation. We're really going to help you every single step of the way when it comes to working on your resume and CV, personal statements, preparing for the GRE, just some of those things. And then also mentorship from the McNair staff, as well as faculty mentorship, is really woven throughout the entire program. Now, in order to be eligible for the program, students must demonstrate interest in obtaining a graduate degree, whether master's, PhD. It can vary depending on your discipline, but really showing that interest. Qualify as either a first-gen student or be a member of a group that is underrepresented in graduate education. And transfer students are also eligible for the program, as well as sophomores, juniors, and seniors even. You must have at least a minimum of 30 hours of coursework in order to be eligible. And you must have a 3.0 minimum cumulative Baylor GPA. And there are a couple other requirements for eligibility, but I do want to kind of add a disclaimer that there is no one-size-fits-all student. We truly review students' applications on a case-by-case basis. So don't be deterred from being interested in the program if you don't think that you meet every single one of these eligibility requirements. So some of the program requirements once you're actually in the program is to attend regular meetings and activities, maintain that 3.0 GPA, take the appropriate examinations for graduate school like the GRE, and actually apply to graduate school. The summer research that we've already talked about is an integral part of the program. So that's going to look about 10 weeks and can be conducted either at Baylor with a faculty mentor or at a different institution across the country with other various faculty mentors. And then also those presentations at the research conferences are just an important part of the program that can be done during the summer, fall, or spring. So I do want to mention just a little bit about what the program currently looks like. So currently we have 25 McNair scholars. So it is a pretty exclusive program with a small number of individuals. We have 10 juniors and 15 seniors, but again, this is going to vary every single semester and every year as students graduate. Currently, we have a majority of our students in the STEM field, but this is open to all disciplines and all majors. Another really important component is this research conference component that we've been mentioning. And did I get cut off?
Conference, yep, right around the introduction to the conference. Rachel, you can go ahead and start.
Okay. Okay, back to the McNair Scholars Research Conference. So research being such an integral part of this program, there are many opportunities to present your research, and the McNair Scholars Research Conference is actually our own McNair specific conference. Not every McNair program has their own conference, so it's an amazing opportunity that Baylor does have its own. And it has all of the components that you would expect in an academic conference besides just presenting your research. So going to these professional development sessions, graduate school workshops, there are going to be different keynote speakers, networking opportunities. We just finished our conference on October 1st and 2nd, so it just happened. And this year was a completely 100% virtual conference, which was just a really new and fun experience. So in the future, we will still be planning on having these conferences. So we would love you all to participate in the next McNair conference. Now, I mentioned earlier how much weight the McNair name holds in the academic community, and that's not just at the undergraduate level. It is also going to follow you into your graduate school work as well. So many McNair programs have a McNair doctoral fellowship or some kind of equivalent where they are going to continue assisting McNair scholars into their graduate work. Baylor just so happens to be a school that offers a McNair doctoral fellowship. So this is just going to really help you both at that undergraduate level and then as you continue on into graduate school as well. Now, I do want to mention a couple areas on our website if you are interested in applying to the program. Even if you're unsure, we would continue to just encourage every student that's interested to apply. You never know how your goals and your wishes for graduate school may change. You may not know if you're eligible for the program, but regardless, we would love to kind of help you through the application process. This is what it looks like when you first go to our website. There's also an incredibly helpful checklist to make sure that you get every single item that you need. The application is open now and it's due December 1st, 2020. So you still have plenty of time if you are interested in applying for the spring 2021 entering cohort. There are a couple things on here that we would point out that we're happy to talk about, including a personal statement, letters of recommendation, outside of just the actual application you would need to submit. And then finally, we also have some great FAQs on our website that can kind of help you throughout the process. But I think what we really want to stress is we're here today to answer any questions that you all may have. And if you wanted to set up a one-on-one meeting afterwards for sometime next week, we're also happy to do so. You can email us, call us. I would encourage you to follow us on social media at Baylor McNair just to check out what we're doing. But again, now we're going to have time for Q&A, and we would love to meet with you after this meeting as well.
Thank you, Rachel. I just want to elaborate on a couple of more things. One big thing that Rachel had mentioned was that summer research internship. One of the great perks about that, not only are you doing one-on-one faculty mentored research, you're developing that research. It's not just, hey, this is a project that someone else is working on. You have a chance to work with that faculty member to discuss ahead of time saying, I'm really interested in the research you're doing in blank. Would you mind being my faculty mentor? And you can develop that personal one-on-one research. In addition to being able to do that, you'll receive a research stipend and can apply for an additional housing allowance as well. So particularly for those who are doing research here on campus, and I know Rachel mentioned about you have a choice between on-campus research and off-campus research. So if you do your research here on campus with the Baylor faculty, you also receive paid for by the university and no cost to you is an additional 3-credit course over the summer, upper division in your major, in the major of the research that you're doing of your faculty mentor. So that's a fantastic perk that not a lot of students get, that when you're doing research, you really do get these additional opportunities. Talking about opportunities, when you're done doing that research, you also have a chance to present your research at not just our conference, but conferences nationwide. We do have travel funding available for students that are interested in presenting at some of the major discipline-specific conferences or McNair conferences. We really do open it up to any type of field. And this also includes graduate school visitations and other resources. And lastly, going back to the research for the summer, you don't need to be doing research with a faculty member here on campus. Some of our scholars will actually apply for outside summer research opportunities, some SHROP programs, REUs, and be admitted into those programs, and they can still be a McNair Scholar. They would be attending those REUs or SROPs resources for actually doing the research, but you would still receive all the additional benefits of being a McNair Scholar, like the application fee waiver, the training to apply for graduate school, GRE prep, travel funding, all of those different things. So definitely a lot of key resources are available to students. I want to kind of turn it over to Cece to talk a little bit about her experience and give you really a current McNair Scholars experience and her feelings. So Cece, do you want to take it away?
Yes, hi guys. My name is Skylar Christina Edwards, but everyone calls me Cece. I'm a senior McNair Scholar. I was inducted to the program last year. And as Stephen and Rachel already said, this program has really, it's really helpful. It has a lot of perks to it. My personal experience being that I always knew that I liked research and being a grad student, but being first gen and low income, and I'm Hispanic as well. I just not like throughout like high school and even college, I was a transfer student, but not a lot of people were invested in my education or invested into what I was going to do after college. And so I had a friend, Saul, who's actually a McNair Scholar, who's at UCLA, tell me about this program, saying that CC, this program changed my life and you should apply for it. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I applied it thinking that it was like not going to happen. And then I interviewed with Stephen and some other people, and I got in, and I agree with Saul that this program has changed my life, that I did not think that people would be interested in my education or interested in what I was doing or think I was talented enough to conduct research, or I never thought I was able to conduct a research project from scratch. So over the summer, my mentor was Dr. Jason Pitts with the Baylor Biology Department. And Dr. Jason Pitts was so invested in me. And from there, he's my mentorship. And just being a McNair Scholar, I have schools like Cornell and Columbia already say like, oh, you're a McNair Scholar? I already know what that is. And I'm just like, what? That's crazy. Like, I would never think like schools like that would ever look at me, you know, on an application or, so this program has been conducting research and asking questions. So it was me and two other people. We had the same mentor. But even today, Dr. Pitts, I meet with him on a weekly or biweekly basis. So he's still supportive. And then as well as Stephen, Dr. Fernandez, and Rachel have been really supported in helping me through, I took my GRE prep for the summer and taking GRE this semester, and also just you do workshops about grad students. And so grad schools kind of are like impressed because you are catered, or you know what to expect when applying to grad school. And it just has made my life much easier, because if I had applied without being a McNair Scholar, I do not think I would be comfortable in the position I was in right now.
Thank you so much, Cece. Rachel, do you have anything to add, or should we just jump straight into Q&A?
Yeah, let's jump straight into Q&A. It's a pretty small group, so you're welcome to unmute yourselves. You can also drop questions in the chat. Either one of those is great.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start off. So Cece, if you could choose a single benefit of McNair that helped you the most, what would you say that was, given that there's such a big list?
I would say the networking opportunities that just professors or even just other people, like I talked to McNair Scholars from our conferences that, as Rachel and Stephen mentioned, I was talking to people that were McNair Scholars at University of Florida, and they'll be like, oh, well, have you considered this professor for grad school? And I was like, oh, I haven't. And so just that networking kind of like builds you, like you find professors or you find schools that I have never considered for grad school, and now they're like on the top of my list of where I want to go to, or fields that I want to go into. this is kind of a dumb question, but are you also okay? Salary career, sir, oh my God, Sarira's question. This is kind of a dumb question, but does this only apply to graduate school, or do you accept people who are going to wanting to go to medical school? I don't know if Stephen wants to answer that. I know some people are
Yeah,
interested
I'll
in
take that.
PhD programs.
Yeah, sorry. So, sorry, no, but yes, I think Cece was just saying that we do have students that have been applying to multiple programs. So we have some students that are applying for a joint MD, PhD, folks that are going directly to a master's. Our focus is with the program, and a lot of what is provided is through that master's, PhD kind of path. But we do have students that will do a joint JD, PhD, or like I said, MD, PhD. So we are open to students, and depending on where you are in your path, I encourage you to consider some of these resources. The great thing about McNair is, as I said, it's one-on-one mentorship. So you really have a chance to really have an honest conversation with a faculty member in an area that you're interested in and say, hey, I really like this about the field that I'm in. What advice do you have? And they may say like, oh yeah, well, actually, your strengths seem to be that you're more research oriented, and maybe you actually might want to consider this. Or yes, you want more, this other aspect. So having those conversations early is going to be incredibly important because it's so interesting how it's very different in the different paths you're taking, and you need to see like what is something that I'm interested in and in going forward, because I will tell you, you have a much better chance of being successful and being happy if you're pursuing something that you personally have invested kind of passion for. So definitely I would encourage you to look at all different options, but long answer short, yes, we do take students from a variety of different disciplines and different kind of career paths going forward, but the focus is primarily on that graduate school.
Yeah, and like I'm currently doing just PhD right now. I'm applying to 7 schools that are PhD programs and 3 schools that are masters in biology. And something that's really cool is some mentors that I already talked to. So I did the research over the summer, and then the lab I was in is full because of COVID, but I found another lab that is doing similar research. So I'm continuing the research that I'm doing, and I'm talking to graduate schools, and they said that this research I've done can be the first chapter of my PhD thesis, which is already like pretty cool that I'm coming in a first year with already one chapter of my PhD thesis. So I was like, whoa, I didn't really think, like, you don't think of the research because you think, oh, I'm an undergrad, my research isn't relevant, but it actually, you're conducting cool stuff that is relevant.
While we wait for its next question, I'll throw a question back to CC to put the spotlight back on. What would you find to be one of the biggest challenges of being a McNair Scholar? I know it's a rigorous process, and how did you kind of navigate that?
For me, it's more of like my family or just being first generation. My parents were like, what's McNair? Or what's this program you're in? Or like, why are you not coming back home this summer? Like, what's this research kind of thing? So for me, it's more of that family and friends oriented, that a lot of people don't understand what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. And even then, like applying to PhD programs, I'm biology. So a lot of people are applying to med school and dental school. So when I'm applying to PhD, they're like, oh, you're doing that, you're taking the easy way out. I'm like, no, getting a PhD, taking the GRE and applying and being a McNair Scholar is just as hard as any other pre-health field, I would say. So it's just more of that stigma, I would say. It was been the hardest thing of being a McNair Scholar. So.
And like we've talked about, what we do a lot of is kind of be a resource for students with a lot of these things. So that's why, as Rachel said, we serve 25 students whole, and typically this is a mixture of juniors and seniors. So at any time we may have a incoming cohort of around 10 or 15 students coming in. So it is a competitive process, but it's a lot of services are provided to help you through navigating some of the things. As a first generation student myself, coming from an underrepresented background, I always found it that, sometimes the biggest thing is just not knowing the right questions to ask. So we do a lot of that, of kind of helping you navigate, okay, these are the questions you should be looking at, or things that you should expect that you didn't think about, because it's a rigorous process, even just applying. much less prepping up for graduate school. But as Cece said, what we are very happy and confident about the program that it does is it preps you into a situation where you're going into the first year of graduate school already ahead of your peers who are just thinking about some of these things, maybe towards the end of their senior year. We work with students as early as their sophomore year. You can apply and you can start research as early as that summer between your sophomore and junior year. So you have multiple years that you can do research. So I definitely encourage you, either if you're already a sophomore or even if you're a junior, senior, but you still have a year or so to go to get involved with the McNair program early.
Yeah. I agree with Dr. Fernandez.
Is it hard for you to juggle school, research, social life, other organizations, and being a McNair Scholar? Cece, I'll let you take that one.
That's a good question. Yes and no. So the cool thing is I'm taking a 1-hour credit class that is for McNair Scholars as a senior. And it's cool because that class is also preparing me. So like yesterday, my personal statement was due. And so as it was a part of my class, I kind of didn't have to worry about, oh, when am I going to set time aside to write my personal statement because that was a grade of the class kind of thing. So for that, yes, it's over the summer. So over the summer, it was kind of hard more of because of COVID and because of GRE prep and also just because of like, the ambiguity of what was going on was kind of hard. Like it was more of hard to juggle. Like, when am I able to go in the lab? When am I able to read a paper for literature review kind of stuff? Because of that, hopefully if you join in next year, hopefully the situation will be better and you don't have to worry about that. As of for this semester, as a McNair Scholar, the class is not that rigorous, I would say, but during research, as I am in Dr. Sim's lab and just school, other organizations, it is hard, but time management is key. And I think we have workshops about that. We have other grad students that can come talk to you about that. For me, time management is hard and I've been able to juggle it. But for me, it's more of like about the end goal. As I'm a senior, so I'm already have my grades set in. So I am focused about just applying to grad school right now, but it is hard. But I don't think the McNair Scholars hinders it, if is that what you're asking. I think it actually helps me more than it would hinder.
The only thing I'd add is just, I completely agree. And I think one of the things that we've been trying to be very purposeful about designing is the aspect of applying to graduate school is a hard process. It is a time-consuming process. So the things that we have as a McNair Scholar for you to do is things that you should already be doing in preparation for graduate school. So there's not additional things that are like, well, this takes a lot of my time. We're actually trying to make it more streamlined for you to be able to do is more with the limited amount of time that you have. Because really, to be successful applying for graduate school, you need to set a wide net. Sometimes you have to apply to at least 10 schools, and that takes a lot of time. So we really do try to prep you early. Over the summer, you're already starting those applications. So that way in the fall, you don't feel overwhelmed. You don't feel like, oh, wow, I got to get all this stuff done in a couple of months. So we try to do it in bite size. And then in reference to social, obviously COVID has kind of thrown us for a bit of a loop this year, but in general, what I'm also very proud about with the McNair Scholars is it's a McNair Scholars family, right? So a lot of our scholars, they socialize with each other. They have a chance we do different, when we are able to gather in groups. Last year, we went all horseback riding. We'll go to plays, we'll go to different events. We'll travel to conferences together. So you'll actually start to develop a new kind of like awesome social group of support from your fellow McNair Scholars. So that's another aspect of just kind of navigating it. Again, we tried our best to not tax you with stuff that is unnecessary, but just make things more streamlined and helpful that you already have to do.
Yeah, I'm very close to my scholars. I have never heard, even talking to other McNair Scholars, when you meet at other, I am friends with people I haven't even met because of COVID that I met at the UCLA or University of Maryland McNair's conference. conference that I just like, they're like, oh, there was like a social event on Zoom, and then we just added each other on Snapchat, and I just talked to them and they were supportive, and they're asking me how's grad school going. And it's kind of funny because it's like we haven't met, but it's like I've already developed a relationship with them kind of thing. And then also here at Baylor, I love my cohort. Even though there wasn't Baylor official events, we did go meet, I do meet with some of my McNair scholar cohort friends, or my cohort. Sometimes we go to a coffee shop, and during the summer we'll be like, okay, we have to have 2 pages done by the end of this day at Pinewood over there near Pinewood Coffee. So we're like, okay, we have to finish 2 pages by then. So so it was just a very good support system to kind of keep you in check. And that's also a fun part of it, because there's just I don't know, we send each other grad school memes and it's just kind of a fun environment to be in.
I have a quick question about, you mentioned kind of pairing McNair with another program over the summer at an REU. How exactly does that process work? Do you apply through McNair somehow, or are they separate still?
I'm glad you asked that question, because it's a kind of a tricky one to, so I want to make sure I'm clear. So there's actually multiple options. Some of our scholars will apply, and even those that are applying for the program right now to come in for next year, they can also be applying to random REU programs at the same time, and they get admitted to both. And I've often had students come up and say, hey, oh, I'm sorry, I can't be McNair, I've been admitted. Actually, we work with that university's REU to kind of work hand in hand. The other option would be, we provide you with some lists of REUs that our scholars have worked with in the past. So some of our, I use Michigan State as an example, because we have some scholars that go there this summer, even virtually. So we actually sent them a list of our current incoming McNair scholars, and they reviewed and said, hey, we're really interested in this particular student to come and do research. So there are different avenues of ways of doing this, but I encourage students to apply to all sorts of outside summer research in addition to McNair. And then when you receive an acceptance, we work very closely to provide you the additional assistance, and many times that pays forth in tenfold, because not only are you a McNair scholar, you get this outside summer research opportunity. And if you're doing, at least if you're applying as a rising junior, so in your sophomore year, you can also do research at Baylor with a mentor next year. So lots of options. Hope that answered your question, Roger. Awesome.
We also had other students, I know Sarah, she didn't do a program at A&M, but she loved a professor at A&M, and she contacted him and was like, I love your research. Can I do this research with you over the summer? And so they met through Zoom, and she was able to conduct her research with a professor at a different university as well, even though she wasn't in an RIU program as well. It's a possibility too.
Yeah, thank you for reminding. Yeah, I was going to say that's the other aspect, is really connecting with research and having McNair as that kind of support network of providing you stipend, different resources to fund your research over the summer. Any additional questions?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Raj.
Well, so also with the application process, would you say that there's a preference given to people with prior research experience, or are there particular things you're looking for on that application?
So that's a great question. So as Rachel said, and I'll let her jump into if she has anything to add, but really we do look at students in a holistic manner, right? We're looking at every aspect. I've had students who applied with not as strong of a GPA, but they've got research experience and great letters of recommendation, and the other way around. It depends on the student. We really try to see, and that's why it's the personal statement that's required. Really asks, why should you be a McNair scholar? Why should we select you? And it's an opportunity for you to showcase, yes, while my GPA might not be as high, or I don't have as much research experience, this is why I really bring this passion here. So in reference to research, I will say this, and I advise students when applying, there is an optional research portion that says, hey, I want to do this particular research, and you submit a research abstract and identify a faculty member. While that is not required, I encourage you to do that because that showcases that, hey, you know, I've already started to take the active steps of finding a faculty mentor if I get into the program and a proposed research topic that we may work on. Don't get lost in the aspect of like, well, we're just not sure how it's going to look going forward next summer. Submit a research abstract and say, you know, hey, we're going to look at, I'll use CC as an example, we're going to look at mosquitoes, but it ended up being by the time the summer starts, you decide, oh, we're going to look at ticks now instead. That does not change the aspect that you've been in the program. You don't have to have a solid, perfect abstract when applying, but when applying, it is really, it does stand out for Roger's question. If you do at least identify a faculty mentor and a proposed research interest.
Yeah, and as Stephen said, for me, I did have prior research experience, but it was different because you're coming up with your own abstract, you're coming up with your own research question from the beginning. And I did reach out to Dr. Pitts before. I honestly don't remember if I submitted an abstract or not. I don't know if Stephen remembers, but I did reach out to my faculty mentor before, and we did have something planned, and I wanted to just study biological warfare in mosquitoes. And then this article, like in the middle of February, came out, and it was like this huge article in the mosquito world, which about this chemical compound. And then Dr. Pitts was like, reach out, and he's like, do you want to like do this instead? I was like, yeah. And so I did change what Stephen just mentioned, Dr. Fernandez just mentioned. I did change kind of like a route of what I wanted to research in that aspect of what I proposed to McNair when I was interviewed. So it's not like set in stone if you're worried about that.
And on the other side of that, if you can't find a research mentor, if you're struggling, just as Rachel said in the presentation, we are here as a resource to help you try to navigate that. So if you're saying, I don't really know even how to start looking for a mentor, reach out to us. We'll help you through that process to at least help you, start having those conversations. And even if you still continue to struggle to find a mentor, still apply, because one of the big things we do is try to match students with faculty mentors as a McNair scholar. So like I said, I always encourage you to find your own mentor. The relationship is just that much more just natural when you develop that relationship yourself. But if you struggle to find, we will work very hard to help you find a research mentor over the summer. So don't worry about that. I see a question about, are only juniors and seniors welcome to apply? Or are sophomores and freshmen also welcome to show interest? Yes, very much so. Actually, sophomores in particular, I encourage you to apply because that way you get the most out of the program. You get to be in the program all the way and, throughout from sophomore until the day you graduate. And then we always say you don't graduate and leave from becoming a McNair scholar. Just become an alumni because it's a big McNair family. Once a McNair, always a McNair. So yes, as a sophomore, you should definitely apply early. As a freshman, we do have sessions where we're going to work on connecting you with resources and particularly becoming a McNair scholar. The only big variable there is you must have by the start of your the summertime, you must have at least 60 credits to be involved in faculty mentored research and receive a stipend. So that's the only variable caveat, but if you come in earlier, you just wouldn't be able to, if you don't have the 60 credits by the summer, you wouldn't be able to do the research, but you'd still be able to participate and be involved in the program. And again, we work with you through these different aspects.
So Stephen, I wanted to clarify. So a freshman could come in and they would have, like, if they had dual credit or transfer credits so if they qualify for those 60 hours, even though they're a freshman class, like hypothetically, it's their first year of college, they could still apply for the McNair Scholar.
Exactly. And that's what we mentioned earlier, like transfer is, we take transfer credits. It's just totally having transferred credits into Baylor. There's 60 credits. So these are recognized credits. So you would be having at least 60 credits on your transcript. And I know Rachel can probably go into the logistics about that. So I'll turn it over to her.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the credits, we've talked about transfer and freshmen, and there's no one size fits all. If you did dual credit, AP, if you submitted credits that Baylor accepted, you should be able to run a transcript, and it should be able to tell you which credits were accepted by the institution. So if anyone here is a freshman or a sophomore, just make sure you're having any transcripts sent into the institution from your high school, or if you did any community college work prior to entering as a freshman. The most important thing is just to make sure that all of those transcripts are in, so that when you're in the process of applying to McNair, we can actually see how many credits you've already accumulated.
Yeah, and going to what Rachel said earlier, it really is. I encourage you to, if you have these kind of specific questions, come set up a meeting to meet with us. That's the great thing about the cohorts being relatively small, those 25 students that we serve a year, is we really do a hands-on approach to it. So, things that are facing CC compared to, John are going to be very different, right? So we really try to tackle it on an individual basis. So your particular situation may be very different and unique, and we really try to support that. So definitely make a one-on-one meeting with us to talk about it, and encourage you to apply. The same thing I tell my scholars: apply. You miss opportunities that you self-select out of. So if you think that you might even be eligible for this, I encourage you to apply, or at least set up a time to meet with us to talk more about how the program may be a good fit for you.
Mm-hmm. I did put my email. It looks like Cece also put her email. So if you have questions for a current McNair student, you're welcome to email her. I know a couple of people came in late, so they may not have gotten my email off the PowerPoint slide. So please copy and paste that. And if you do have additional questions, or if you want to set up that one-on-one meeting, please don't hesitate to reach out to me next week. We would love to schedule a time to just meet more and talk about the very specific case-by-case questions you may have.
Yeah, I have emails because I know sometimes it's different when you're the actual scholar versus the directors. Not that Stephen and Rachel don't know what they do, but if you have any questions or you're too embarrassed to ask, feel free to email me. Yeah, I'm open to answer any questions about being a scholar.
So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and put up the QR code for everybody to sign in with on the screen, but you're all welcome to keep asking questions.
Yeah, it looks like we have
I'm going to do it.
5 minutes left. And then y'all will have a little bit of a break before the next session. I believe Roger said about 10 minutes. So we're happy to stay on for as long as you all need to answer any questions that you all have.
And I'll do a shameless plug for our next info session. So if you or a fellow friend that you think would be interested in this program, I believe it's October 21st at 6 o'clock. So if you go to our website, baylor.edu/McNair Scholars, you'll be able to find information about the program in the interest session and about the program as a whole.
The specific link for interest sessions I just put in the chat. So going to that page will take you to the interest sessions calendar, where you can add the one on the 21st to your Outlook. But that's also our website for any other application related questions, how to reach out to us in contact, follow up with us, anything like that.
Also, you can just ask Rachel or Stephen, but again, if you feel like you don't qualify, still apply, if that makes sense. Or if you ask them if I do qualify, because I thought I didn't qualify because of just reasons. So then after I submitted my application, it wasn't Rachel's, Joanna, but Joanna was like, can you clarify what you mean? Because it's because for personal plug, I guess, personal story. My parents didn't go to college, but my stepdad did, but I wasn't raised by my stepdad. So on my FAFSA, it says that I'm not first gen, hypothetically, because my stepdad went to college, but my stepdad, like, I don't even talk to him. So I explained that to Joanna, and then I was able to explain that to the U.S. Department of Education. I was still able to become a McNair scholar. So like, whether or not you're unsure of what, like, am I a representative, like, community, like, all these things be iffy. So just like, don't hesitate. Feel free to contact them, because like, they'll be like, oh, I don't qualify. Like, go reach out, please, please, please.
The last call for questions.
I have a question. So if we apply like our sophomore year, but we don't get accepted, can we apply the following year, like our junior year?
Here, I can't hear you very well. Could you speak a little bit closer to the mic, maybe?
Can you hear me now?
I believe the question was, if you apply and you're not accepted the first go around, can you reapply again for the next cohort?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yes. And I encourage you to do so. So I encourage you to apply. If you do not get accepted, you can set up a meeting to talk a little bit more about clarification, and we can have a one-on-one and kind of help, how this would make you a more competitive applicant for next year. Or if it might be that you might not be particularly eligible for the program. As Rachel said, we're a federally funded Department of Education program, so there are certain strict guidelines that we can't bend on, but definitely we'll have those conversations. So if you don't get admitted, definitely we'll follow up, and you have a chance to reach out to us, and we can set up a time if you want, even to have a one-on-one feedback of, hey, I didn't get in, I went to the interview, but I messed up, or whatever it was. Again, that's why we're so hands-on, and the purpose of the program, and really what drives me and Rachel and the rest of the McNair scholars in the program, is you being successful. So we're going to do everything we can to help you through the process. So if you didn't just make it into this cohort, we definitely have had students that have applied and then reapplied and been admitted the second time, just because as I said, every year we have a variety of different sizes. So 2 years ago, we only had about 6 students that were able to come into the program. Last year, we had a bigger cohort of 18. This year, we're probably going to have 15 that are coming in. Next year, it might only be 5. So it depends on how many seniors are graduating. So whenever those seniors graduate, we bring in those new cohorts to replace those seniors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew, are you there? Do you have questions remaining?
Well, before we run out of time, I just want to thank you, Matthew. I just want to thank everybody that attended or watching this recording. Please feel free again to reach out if you have any questions. We're here to serve you and kind of give you all the resources we can. Cece's also giving you the option to reach out to her if you want to have a more scholar-based answer to some of those questions. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I'll turn it over to Rachel. She wants to say final words, and Cece, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, I just also want to thank you so much for taking the time on this Saturday to come meet with us. And we really look forward to seeing your application or hearing from you about a follow-up meeting. So, Cece?
Yeah, apply if you're a senior, or not senior, but if you're like a junior or if you're a sophomore, please apply. Don't hesitate. The worst that they could say is no, and then you apply again. But like I said, this program really, I would not be in the position to be as content as I am if it wasn't for the program and the wonderful work that Stephen and Rachel do.